This episode is proudly supported by Rental Search Australia, the experts who make your move to Australia seamless, stress-free and genuinely enjoyable. They take care of everything, from shortlisting properties and attending inspections to preparing standout rental applications. Their relocation package even includes a dedicated relocation manager who can collect the key deliveries you need so you can move straight into the home they've secured for you the moment you land, plus a chauffeur to pick you up from the airport and take you directly to your new place. If you're planning a move, head to rentalsearchaustralia.com and let the team handle the hard part so you can focus on the exciting adventure.
Welcome to the New Life in Australia podcast, hosted by me, Karen Bleakley, founder of smartstepstoaustralia.com. Moving to Australia with my family was a life-changing experience, but it wasn't without its challenges. That's why I'm passionate about making the relocation and resettlement process easier for you so you can enjoy this exciting adventure. Join me and my special guests as we share professional secrets and tips, learn from people who've made the move, and discover businesses that can help you realise your dreams. Now is the best time to create the life you've always wanted. This podcast is here to show you what's possible and to inspire you every step of the way. Let's go.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge the Gubbi Gubbi people, the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which I live, work and play. I thank them for the privilege of being able to live in such an incredible part of the world, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Hey there, Karen here. Welcome to this week's episode of the New Life in Australia podcast. This week I've been having a fantastic, open and honest conversation with Jade from Rental Search Australia. We covered so much in this long episode. We talked all about relocating to Australia, relocating to different cities, taking on a rental, how you find a rental, all of the tips and tricks, things to avoid, and so much more. And Jade was really generous and gave so many really valuable insights into the process. So let's roll the episode now so you can get straight into listening to all the good stuff. Hey there, welcome to this week's episode of the New Life in Australia podcast. Today I'm chatting to Jade from Rental Search Australia. Hey Jade, how are you this morning and can you just introduce yourself?
Hi Karen, yes I'm Jade and I am the director and founder of Rental Search Australia. We help people to secure a rental property in Australia before they arrive.
That's fantastic. It's really great to have you on here today. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to create Rental Search Australia?
Yeah, so I used to work in leasing, in property management, and I loved it. I loved being the person who called people to say, you've been approved on a property. It was just the best part of my job. But I did see like a little bit of a gap in the market. So that would basically be like people who are moving from overseas or abroad, they wouldn't be able to submit an application and be approved if they weren't physically on the ground to inspect the property. So originally I thought, gosh, there really just needs to be someone who can go out and attend inspections for them so they can apply. And then that kind of went on to realising, well, they don't really know how to put together a good quality application. A lot of their times all their references and things are from abroad. So there needs to be a service that includes that. And then that kind of started as the thought. And then as we kind of got rolling and it started to take off, I started to see more and more gaps of what people who are relocating need in terms of their property search. So that's how it all kind of came about. I thought, gosh, I could save them a fortune without them having to get flights and accommodation each time they wanted to come and have a look at a property. I'm going to do a little bit like what a relocation agent does, but instead of what a traditional relocation agent does with flights and shipping containers and helps with schools, I'm just going to help people with the property part of it. So that's how it all came about.
Yeah, and when you're moving over internationally, you can't just fly over quickly just to scope out properties and you have to take on a really expensive Airbnb or sort of hotel or apartment or something. And that can be really expensive and quite unsettling while you're just trying to set up your new life here. So it's kind of nice to just be able to land and move straight into a place as well. So how has your experience and background in property really helped you with the business?
Yeah, I think probably what I saw, not necessarily people who were moving from overseas, but even just like people in general weren't really sure how to put together a good quality application. So you hear in the media and things, people say, "Oh, I've applied for 100 rental properties and I haven't got them." And I thought, yeah, I can see how that happens. And it's simply because of just like simple mistakes that people were doing in terms of their application and not presenting themselves properly. So I think probably the biggest takeaway that I got from my time in leasing and property management is how to help tenants put together a really good application. And I think that that's kind of been a bit of my superpower in terms of helping our clients who are relocating from interstate or abroad to get approved on a rental property is just simply how to present themselves. So yeah, ideally just taking the legwork out of the process for them in terms of going, seeing the things, putting the applications together.
So you began in Melbourne, that was your focus initially, and you've expanded. So can you tell us a little bit about how and why you've expanded and where you've expanded to?
Yeah, so it just began with two of us in Melbourne. The business was actually named Melbourne Rental Search. We had quite a lot of success in Melbourne. We were the only ones that were doing just this property side of relocations. And I guess the media kind of put a spin on it that saying we were a bit like buyers advocates, but tenants advocates. And I don't know if that's really what we were, but I don't know, the media just kind of went and flew with that, which was kind of interesting at the time because this was 10 years ago. And at that time, it was like I sort of mentioned before, you did have relocation agencies, but not really someone that was just doing the property search of it. So we tended to get a fair bit of success in Melbourne pretty quickly. I ended up with about 12 relocation managers here in Melbourne. And then the demand came for other cities. So it was just kind of like a really slow and natural growth, just kind of one city at a time, building up a team, making sure everyone was really trained up and we had good success. And then I'd move on to the next city. So then we rebranded to Rental Search Australia, and now we're in most of the cities.
Wow, so you cover most of Australia now, most of the main cities.
We do. So we've got 26. There's 26 of us now on the team. We're in Sydney, Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast.
Wow, that's huge. That's amazing. So you mentioned you've been going for 10 years. How has the relocation and rental market changed in the 10 years? Because I know that I've lived here for 11 years now, and I've seen a massive shift in everything about property, from buying homes to renting homes here in Brisbane. What's your experience been?
Hugely. And I think like COVID was a bit of a turning point. So I remember there was a time that I'd be telling majority of our clients to offer under the advertised rental price. And I'd be saying, this is how you go about it. And we'll just get to the open and we'll see how much interest there is. And if there's not many people there, or if a property's been hanging around for a while, let's be a bit cheeky and offer under the advertised price. And I just have not said that since basically COVID. Then COVID hit, everything got shut down, and they basically could not get people to fill properties. And then since all the lockdowns and things stopped, then the rental crisis just really hit, and now we're seeing so much more demand. It's pretty common for a quality property that's been priced correctly that you might be coming up against about 10 or other applicants, and that can be pretty daunting. So now it's not so much about it's not about offering less at all. In some instances, it may be offering slightly more, but we try to avoid that. It really is just ensuring you've got that really good quality application and presenting yourself really well that's going to be the key. So it's just funny that how the time has changed, where before we were like, oh, they want anyone, we can be a bit cheeky, let's go under the price, where now we're like, gosh, it could even be over the price, and we need to make sure that application is really top notch.
And I think since COVID as well, there's been a really big change with people within Australia moving to different cities too. People are kind of looking for a different sort of lifestyle and maybe moving out of bigger cities to somewhere like the Sunshine Coast or the Gold Coast, just for a different kind of lifestyle. So I know I've seen a lot more people relocating to kind of North Brisbane, where I am at the moment. And in fact, our next door neighbours have just moved in from sort of further down south, and they decided to make the relocation move. So I think there is so much demand at the moment, and we've got 2 homes for rent at the moment on the bottom of our road, and just seeing how many cars are pulling up for the open homes, it's really daunting. Like I don't need to rent up, we've got our own home, but I do remember when we first arrived that in the UK, you would usually go and see a property, you'd have an appointment to go and view it. Whereas here, it's obviously an open home with lots of people viewing it at once. And just seeing how many people are showing up to the open homes, it's quite scary and overwhelming. It must be if you've just landed off a plane as well and you're kind of trying to navigate all of that.
Oh, totally. It'd be so overwhelming, especially if you're paying for short-term accommodation each week and you're thinking, here's another week, here's another week. And especially if you're coming over that kind of Christmas period, say like any time in January, where short-term accommodation is just so astronomically expensive. If you are not getting approved on a property in the first couple of weeks that you're there, that's going to really take a toll on your finances. So, yeah, no, it's stressful.
Yeah, well, that's another good point to just kind of come on to now that there's so many different relocation agencies popping up everywhere. I keep seeing them everywhere on Instagram, or people saying, I can view your rental property for you. It's harder and harder for people to get the right support when they do arrive and they're setting up their new life here. How can people look for a sort of trustworthy source and find the right fit for their needs?
And that's actually such a good point, because there are so many people doing this. And I think because what we do has a really low barrier to entry, like anyone really can do it. You don't need any certain qualifications or anything like that. There's heaps of businesses popping up. And I think it's both a blessing and a curse, because I think the more people doing it gives people who are moving more options. And there's some really great operators out there doing wonderful things. I think you only need to check people's reviews to see which ones are the goodies. I have heard of sort of some horror stories though with that as well, just in terms of like families getting scammed, or even like relocation managers that go, yeah, I can get you a property, and then they're either like ghosted from someone who's a scammer after taking them on, or taking the relocation manager takes them on. They do all the inspections, they go out and they give it a red hot crack, but they can't get the application over the line. They can't get it approved. And that's really disappointing, because I guess, yes, a service has been given, but I mean, what does the person do then? They've paid all this money on the relocation agent. Their relocation agent said, oh, look, sorry, I tried, but I haven't had any luck. And then they've come back. They've got to come to Australia without a property secured. So they've wasted that money on the relocation agent, and then they've still got to do the short-term accommodation. It'd just be like hugely stressful. I think when I started to see that and hearing that happen to people, we actually started to provide a money back guarantee. So we do say to the people who are moving on our relocation package that we'll get you approved on a rental property before you arrive, or you get all your money back. So that just kind of takes away any kind of question of, is this even going to work? You've got that guarantee, so you've got nothing to lose. So yeah, I don't know. I think the more people in the industry is great. You get the options, but that people really need to do their research. And you can find, like with the people who I know who have been scammed, if you do go on and have a look at Google reviews and things like that, you can see the dodgy players from the good players. So I just would urge people just to do a little bit of background information on checking all of those reviews, and perhaps even their social media and things, just to see some social proof of the properties that they're securing. That's always a good thing to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's one of the reasons that I created the directory, was so that I could do some of that due diligence for people by just making sure I'm checking the brand's reviews and I'm speaking to the brand, and I'm making sure that they're actually a real life human at the end of it, before putting them into the directory. Because yeah, and I've got a download as well to help people make the right choices. So listing some of the things that people can do, like you say, checking Google reviews, making sure that they're active on social media fairly recently, looking at their website, checking any registrations are up to date and things like that. So yeah, there's lots of things you can do for sure, but it's definitely worth speaking to some and just doing your due diligence like that. So how do you see the rental market in Australia evolving over the next few years? Do you think it's going to get more competitive, or do you think it's going to ease at all in the future?
Oh, it's hard to say. Like without a crystal ball, jinx. Without a crystal ball, it's really impossible to know. But if I had to predict it, I can only see it getting harder. I think it's sort of a bit of the perfect storm of properties that are getting lost to sales. I think in different parts around Australia, the land tax has got astronomically high for some states. So we're losing a lot of properties that were on the traditional rental market to either sales, so they're getting sold, Airbnb and short-term accommodation, because there's higher returns there for the landlords, so it just kind of makes more sense for investments for them. We're in a bit of an affordability crisis as well throughout Australia. So where many young Australians would traditionally look at getting a property to own, they just can't afford to get into the market. So they're staying in the rental market for so much longer. And then, of course, we've got a rising population with migration coming into Australia. So I see it as a bit of a perfect storm that I can't see the rental crisis easing. I don't want to be doom and gloom. I think it's probably going to get slightly worse. But again, I don't know. Who knows? Hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, no, it's hard to predict for sure. But like you say, I can't see it getting easier anytime soon, unfortunately. I know when we made the move, we didn't use anyone to help find a rental. We were really lucky. We were actually the only people viewing the property that we ended up getting when we first arrived. And we put in an application and got accepted straight away. And it was so easy. And I just wish it was that easy for people who are moving over now. But that's where the support of someone like yourself really does help. This episode is brought to you by Rental Search Australia. For 10 years, Rental Search Australia has helped thousands of individuals and families start their new chapter across Australia. They service most major cities nationwide, and with over 200 5-star online reviews, their track record speaks for itself. Their mission has always been simple: to make you feel like you belong before you even arrive. Moving countries can feel overwhelming, but with their team by your side, it doesn't have to be. Many of their relocation managers come from real estate and leasing backgrounds, which means they know exactly how to position your application to stand out and get to the top of the pile for a property you genuinely love. Whether you're looking for full end-to-end support or just need a property secured in a competitive rental market, Rental Search Australia is here to make your move smoother, easier and far more enjoyable. Visit rentalsearchaustralia.com to learn more. So you know Melbourne really well, you've lived there for a long time. Can you share what it's like as a city and what the lifestyle opportunities are like there?
Oh, I love Melbourne, so I'm a little bit biased. I think what I love about Melbourne is there's something to do every day here in terms of like your concerts, your sporting events, your restaurants, the run clubs, the list just kind of goes on no matter what it is that you're into. I think you can kind of find your people and find things to do like in Melbourne all the time. I also love that it's kind of got a bit of a European feel to it, more so than some of the other cities in Australia. I mean, the one thing that we don't have going for it is good weather. Our weather here is atrocious, but I think the good outweighs the bad. So Melbourne, and also the dining scene. The dining scene in Melbourne is just, the restaurants are so good. So yeah, that's why I love Melbourne.
There's lots of pros to it. And a lot of people don't want hot weather all year round. They want different seasons and different seasons in one day, as they say in Melbourne.
Oh, there is. You get it all. Totally.
So if you could choose to live anywhere in Australia, is Melbourne it? Is that like your favourite city? Or if you could just go anywhere and click your fingers and move there, where would you go?
All right, so Melbourne's definitely number one. But if I had to leave from Melbourne, and this is a bit of a controversial answer because this is one of the few places that we don't help people move to, and it's Hobart in Tasmania. I think Hobart is so lovely. I think it feels a bit like being in England when you're in Hobart. I love it. It's got the Salamanca markets and Mona, the Museum of the Old and New Art. You get the ferry across there. You can sit in the posh pit and have a glass of champagne. It is just I just think Tasmania is such a special spot. So yeah, I don't have enough demand of people wanting to be in Tasmania, so that's why we're not there. But if I didn't live in Melbourne, it'd be Tasmania in Hobart. I love it.
Wow, yeah, no, I've got a few friends who've moved there, and some have moved from Scotland over to Hobart and just absolutely love it. And I've got another friend who moved from Brisbane to Hobart as well and just loves living there. And it's on my list of places that I do need to visit. So it just looks beautiful.
Oh, you do. It's lovely.
I'm not sure about the cold. I know sometimes I'll be sharing on my Facebook that it's 30 degrees here and they'll say, we've got snow.
Yeah, no, it is. It's so cold. That's the one thing that'll keep me away from Tasmania. Yeah,
maybe
cold.
A holiday every few months.
Definitely. Yes.
So if someone was considering using your services, how does the process look from when they first inquire to you?
So what we like people to do is to fill out our online questionnaire. So that can be found on our website. There's basically a little tab that says start the search. From there, you fill in all your requirements, sort of where you want to be, your budget, if you'll be working, who's in your family, the kind of lifestyle you wish to have, all of those kind of little bits and pieces. That gets sent straight through to me, and then I'll personally assess all your requirements and then chat about your search with the team that you're moving to. From there, we then determine if your requirements are realistic and achievable in the current market. If we don't think that we'll be able to deliver exactly what it is that you're looking for, I'll definitely be upfront and I'll let you know straight off the bat. So we actually turn away quite a lot of people who inquire with us. That's one reason why I think we've got that 100% success rate and why I feel so confident giving that money back guarantee, because we only ever take on people that I'm 100% confident that we can get them a property sorted. So if I come back to you and I say, no, I'm sorry, we can't help you, then that's that. We might be able to refer them to someone else. And in the cases that we are able to help you, then I kind of handle any questions that you may have back and forth. We can set up a discovery call. There's no charge of that, where you can have a chat to us before making payment if you want to. Other people feel pretty confident in our service and they might just decide to make payments straight away to secure their search in our schedule. Once you've got a place in our schedule, then it can, depending on sort of how long you get, some people might contact us 6 months in advance. Then we kind of put a pause on things. And then about 5 weeks prior to the date that you're due to arrive, that's when we actually get the ball rolling with your search. So that's when you're introduced to your dedicated relocation manager, and we would start every search off with a call with your relocation manager. And then that's when we head out to start to send you through properties that we think are a good match for you. At the same time, if you see any properties that you like online, you're welcome to send them through to us. And then between the two of us, we work out which properties are suitable for us to go out and inspect, because you might see something and go, God, this place looks great, it's a good price, and we know, oh yeah, that's because it's in a dodgy street or it backs onto a train line or something like that. So then sort of between the two of us, we work out which ones. We go and inspect them. We take a full video walkthrough tour. We write a report of everything that's good, bad, ugly, any issues you need to be aware of. Is there a barking dog next door? Is the street a bit dicey? Does it look like there's a bit of mold growth in the bathroom? Just so you've got all of the information you need to make an informed decision. So we always say we try and make the property seem probably worse even than it is, because we would hate for anyone to ever get into a property and be like, God, you made it look so good and this is not what we were expecting. So we're just basically being completely transparent at those inspections. So you've got all the information that you need to decide if the property is suitable. Then we handle all the negotiations with the agent. We help you submit your application. We check over it to make sure your application's as good as possible. We create a cover letter for you, and then we handle all of those conversations up until the time that you're approved. And I guess from there, we actually even help you get your property all set up. So we get mattresses, white goods, linen. So you can basically have your property all secured. So when you arrive from the airport, we get a chauffeur to come and pick you up from the airport. We drop you off at the property we've secured for you. Your relocation manager is there. Your beds are all made, and you can spend the first night in that property.
That's huge. That just takes away that stress of how you're going to get to your home when you arrive and just what's there. And just, I remember the stress of getting a taxi after we landed after many hours of traveling with 3 kids under 5, and it was just exhausting, and going to our holiday home, and it just was stressful because we weren't sure where we were going to be living in 4 weeks and all of that sort of stuff. So it just takes all that pressure right off your shoulders.
Oh, it's so true. Like, I remember when we first started and people were nervous because they were moving. A lot of them had so much excess luggage, and they're like, how do we get a car, or how do we get a van? How does this work to even just take our luggage? And we've got 3 kids and we need car seats for them all. And I was like, all right, we need to include this in our package. We need to get a car. So you picked up, you dropped off, you can fit all your luggage, you've got all the car seats, we'll get that all sorted for you. So yeah, just the little things.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was such a headache for me. I was trying to email and organise taxis in advance because I knew that I think we had 13 pieces of luggage between us, the 5 of us, and we had all the kids needing car seats, and we'd brought these travel car seats, but then we got here and the driver said, no, they're not legal to use here. They were like clipping ones, and luckily he'd got some others in the back of his car, so he was able to kind of sort it out, but it was stressful trying to think about how big a vehicle we needed, and most of the places I was emailing wouldn't pre-book such a big vehicle for a pickup.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, like, things like that are so silly. You wouldn't think about that when you're planning your move to Australia. Like, you've got bigger fish to fry. So when you're trying to choose a relocation manager or working out, do I even want to go with a relocation manager? Just know that we know what you need because this is all we do. So yeah, so we can definitely give you a hand with all that stuff and just make sure it's off your plate.
Yeah, oh no, that sounds really good. So, how do you help people to understand the neighbourhoods if they've never visited the area? Like, we moved to Brisbane and we'd done some driving around Australia. We'd driven through Brisbane, but we'd never been to this part of Brisbane. We knew the area roughly where we were moving to and where we were hoping to base ourselves, but we didn't know any of the neighbourhoods. So imagine that you're helping somebody that's never been to that place before. How do you help them work out where the best location is to look for a rental?
Mm. So that's actually like the funnest part of what we do because sometimes, look, a lot of times people have an idea about where they want to be. It's very rare that someone comes and they just go, I've got no clue. Like I'd say out of every 10 people, maybe one person says, I've got no clue. Because even if you've never been to Australia before, you've done some research on the place that you've moved to and you might know someone or you're talking to someone who at your new job or you've got some kind of idea. But with that, we kind of assess it in terms of taking in all of their personal requirements in terms of where they're going to be working and how long they're willing to travel to work. Are they going to be on public transport or do they rely on car? Do they have kids? Do they need places where there's parks or beaches and things? What's their budget? A budget is a big one because everyone's going to want to be in the nicest, closest part to the city, which is leafy and green and things, but is the budget going to allow it?
Yeah.
And I think probably the biggest is we'll get an idea of where we think the areas are that are going to match just from their questionnaire with the answers that we've got from them. But then it's when we do the call and we're chatting to them, you can pick up someone's vibe and go, oh, I know exactly where you want to be. You need to be in this area where there's like a lot of young people and there's bars and nightclubs and it's fun. Or you've got someone that's a little bit more alternative and you go, oh, no, you need to be in a bit more of a grungy area where there's a bit more of a vibe. And or you've got families that you go, okay, is it important being by the beach? Great, they've got a great community here. So just in chatting to someone, you can kind of pick up and you go, I know exactly where you need to be. Have a look at this. And sometimes I'll send people YouTube links to footage that I've taken in certain areas, parks and things like that, to get them an idea of the streets and the traffic and all of that kind of thing. And even like a lot of local real estate agents will do little suburb profiles when they're selling a home. And even just having a look at suburb profiles where they show you the highlights of each suburb can be fun for people to do if they don't have a relocation manager and they're just looking for a property themselves, to get an idea of just some visuals, because you can read things, but yeah, just kind of getting a bit of a visual on video is a good idea. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah. So, what are the greatest challenges for somebody if they decide not to use a relocation agent?
Okay, so it's certainly not impossible to get a property independently. Loads of people do it. And look, I think if I was to move overseas, I think I'd probably want to do it myself as well. So I 100% get it. It's a really personal choice to make. I think if you don't have a relocation manager, you just either need to be in a position and comfortable with coming out yourself and sort of spending that money on the short-term accommodation while you do the search yourself, or if you've got someone on the ground that can attend the inspections for you, that's ideal. I think if you don't choose a relocation agent, the other thing is probably just ensuring that application is really good. I always say for people who are moving for abroad and they're doing it themselves, to create a cover letter with a photograph of like you and your family, any pets that you might be bringing, just to give a little bit of background information on why you guys are making the move and your financial situation. Some people in that document will put through lots of like fluffy stuff in terms of like how they fell in love and all of it. Like that's so, like I love reading that. It's really cute, but it's completely unnecessary. The real estate agent just wants to know, can you pay for the rent and are you going to look after my property? So
Yeah.
with that, it's just ensuring it's got those things in it. Your financial situation, if you're coming without an employment, do you have savings, providing proof of the savings? And if you've owned your own home, do you have proof of ownership that you can put in there. And even if you've sold your own home, or if you've rented that out, is there an online listing that you can send through to the real estate agent so you can show how you've kept your property, if it's been well maintained, and just kind of popping those kind of things in to make it a little bit more personable. Just really advocating for yourself. So yes, you can absolutely do it on your own. There are challenges that come with it in just terms of being here and knowing how to put an application together. But if you feel confident doing it, go for it. 100%. You can do it. People can do it for sure.
Or there's even an in-between stage, which I think, like, I'm a bit of a control freak about doing stuff. Like, I like the idea of doing the stuff myself, but also I think in a way what would have suited me if we were moving over now would be come over here and stay for a couple of weeks in a holiday rental, but get a relocation help to find a rental. So you're still getting your expertise while also you're on the ground, able to look around. I don't know whether that's an option, but that's just something that I think would work quite well for me and my control, kind of me liking to kind of stay sort of on top of all the stuff.
There are some people who do call and they say, I'm just like you say, I'm going to get a short-term accommodation and I'll come to the inspections with you because I just want to do it. And again, this is probably like a bit of a controversial thing to say because it's not sort of great for business. But I think people can do it themselves if they are happy to come over and get the short-term accommodation and attend the inspections themselves. That's kind of the hardest part. So if you've got your head around actually coming over and booking the accommodation and doing it, it's just ensuring you've made a good quality application. You can get it over your line independently. People do it every day. I don't think those people need to spend the cost of the relocation manager. I see the real value in what we do as being able to secure the property so it's ready for you to go when you arrive. So you completely sidestep any need for that short-term accommodation and you can move directly into the property that we've secured for you and you can just start enjoying it. So each to their own, but for anyone who's thinking that they might do that, I just want to give them confidence. They can do it 100%.
Yeah, I love it. There's lots of different ways to do it and to figure it out.
Oh, there is, for sure.
So what are some of the behind-the-scenes steps that you and your team take to help clients that they probably don't even realise are happening?
I think it's the relationships that we have with agents. And you know that old saying, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. I think that's really sort of the case when it comes to our relationships with agents. So because we've been doing this for 10 years now, there's a lot of times that we can just kind of pick up the phone and say, we've got this property, I've seen you've just listed it, or what have you got off market? And they'll send it through to us and they know us, they know the people that we're bringing to them, and 9 times out of 10 our application might go just to the top of the line. So that is kind of a huge advantage that you've got from working with a relocation agent that's got years of experience because there's just those relationships that are there. It's also just the advocating that goes on behind the scenes. So what people might not understand is a lot of the times, or I guess basically all real estate agents now, they use certain software in terms of their application that processes a lot of the applications for them. So basically when an application gets submitted through to an agency, on the agent side, it basically comes with like ticks or crosses. And people who are moving from overseas, the application software that the agents are using will often have crosses against their names because they don't have local, either it's local employment or local rental history, or they might not be reaching that 30% rule or whatever. There's crosses on there because their application just it's outside of the norm. So it's our job as relocation managers to get in front of the agent to say, look, whilst the application doesn't appear that great on paper, I need you to understand why. They've just sold their house and they've got all this money from the sale of their house. That's going to set them through to this amount of time. Yes, whilst they don't have employment set up now, they have just been offered this thing. The start date's just not there. Whatever the case may be, we're the ones that are doing all that advocating behind the scenes so then your application doesn't just go to the bottom of the pile and you don't get a call back. Because I think that's what happens when people try and do it their own sometimes, is saying, I just never even hear back from these property managers. And in fairness, property managers managers are notoriously hard to get on the phone. They do kind of screen their calls. But it is even, we'll even go into the agency, knock on the door. Hi, remember me? My clients apply for a property, and just trying whatever we can do to get your application to the top of the list. That's what we'll be doing. So that's what you're paying for.
Yeah, and you don't even know as the applicant about these crosses against your name for different things. So it's sort of, you don't know what you don't know. So
Oh, yeah, a lot of people wouldn't understand that happens. And a lot of the time, which is horrific to people to understand, is if you've got crosses against your name and not all those ticks, and there's a lot of applications, let's say there's 10, your application won't even be clicked to be opened. They won't even read it. So that's why we always ensure that your cover letter is sent separately and all these kinds of things to explain this is the tenant. Don't just go from the application if they're moving for abroad, because it won't present as well as a local that's currently living there. So all the little tricks and tips to be seen.
there's a lot there. So what sets a great relocation agent apart from a good one?
I think if you were looking for a relocation agent, the first thing that you could do is the reviews. I know I touched on that before, but that's really important. Just ensuring that whoever you're going for has got a track record and a proven track record of securing good quality properties in good areas for their clients and doing what they say that they're going to do. Look, I think experience is another one. We kind of touched on the fact that there's so many relocation managers around now, and it is a very low barrier to entry. Anyone can basically get a laptop or phone and go out and see properties, but ensuring that they also know how to put together a quality application, and I guess the experience also gets you that extra element of having the agency relationships as well. So I guess reviews and experience are probably my two top picks.
Yeah, so they're what people should be looking for when they're choosing which service
I'd
to
say
use,
so.
and speaking to you on a discovery call as well to ask all of the right questions as well. So what would you say to somebody who's unsure about hiring a relocation agent and whether it's worth it for them?
I think so. I can't speak for other agencies, but I know what we do is I have got relocation managers that specialise in different pockets in each sort of city. So when I'm matching a client with a relocation manager, it's with someone who actually lives within the kind of area that you want to be in. A lot of the times they are mums who have got school-aged children, so they go to the local schools or the kindergartens, things like that. So it's that advice. So whilst we don't claim to know and be experts in schools and things like that, we do have all of just our own personal knowledge from being in that area. So in terms of like how the council work, when bins night are, where's the local doctors, what happens in this whatever situation, we've got that information there in our back pocket that we can share. So having the relationships with the agents in that area and being a local community member of that area is, I think, what really sets us apart, making sure you're matched with someone who knows that area. They're not just going there for the inspection, and then they don't they don't know the dodgy parts or the good parts or whatever. It's making sure they're a part of it.
That local knowledge is really valuable as well. Like you say, it's about beyond just looking for your rental, it's about that local advice as well. So can you share a memorable client experience that just shows some of the impact that you've had on somebody's move?
Yeah, I was telling this story the other day. I was actually on another podcast, and they asked a similar question. It made me think about it, and I thought, gosh, do I have anything else? But this story, like, I just love it so much. It was that back when I was doing the relocation manager side of things, I had a client who was moving from the UK, and they moved into a property. And of course, I mentioned before that we get a chauffeur to pick you up from the airport and drop you off. And I'm there waiting at the property, set up, all the beds are everything set up. And they were a really lovely family. They came in and I was there welcoming them. And the mum just burst into tears and she said, I'm just so happy because this has been on my vision board, moving to Australia for such a long time. And here I'm standing in my house with my kids and our beds are made and everything. And I can't believe it. It's come true. Like, thank you so much. And we were standing in the kitchen hugging, and then I started to cry. Like, I'll cry at a drop of a hat. And I was just like, this is so nice. It's such a bold move for someone to make that move across overseas, leave everything that they've known, their families, and just take this leap of faith. And I felt just so proud, and it's just so like it's so special to be a part of someone's experience like that, and it stuck with me. It was such a long time ago now, but I think about it all the time. So that's been my favorite moment that there is in terms of what we do.
What a lovely story. That's really nice.
I hear about it a lot. Yeah, it happens. So many people are just, it's just such a huge relief if like, God, we did it. Because the visa and everything takes such a long time. It's such a big process to get there and know that, oh my God, it's done and we're in our house is just awesome.
Oh, that's nice. And it's about like celebrating and sharing in that experience and that relief and that emotional kind of experience of the whole thing as well. So that must be really rewarding.
Yeah, they can just exhale. Like, we did it.
Yeah, and rewarding for you too to be part of it, to know that you played a part in helping that process as well. So,
Oh, I love it. Yeah, totally.
yeah. Now, do you think it's a good idea to consider your schools for your kids before you move, or is that something that you saw after you arrive? Like, I know that ties quite well into where you're moving to.
Yeah, I think in Australia we're really lucky because we have some really great schools. So unless you want to go down the private route, which is not a lot of people do who are moving from abroad, they tend to go to sort of whatever school they're locally zoned for, especially if it's primary school. I don't think it's necessarily. It depends. Depends what kind of person you are. If you are motivated for school, because we have people who move from other countries for the schools. So in that case, the school is the first priority. But if you're not moving for a school, I think at what stage should you be looking into schools? It's probably in between deciding which area you want to live in for the lifestyle. And then just before we go and we're either out inspecting properties or we've found a property that you like and you're approved, before we sign the lease, it's important that we perhaps check in terms of the zoning of the local school, the reviews for that school. So there's things like the Good School Guide and things like that that you can find, or reviews and all the information about the school. And even joining the local community groups and stuff to ask a couple of questions about the school before hitting the go button is the way to go. But we are so lucky in Australia with how good the schools are. There aren't really a lot of areas that I would say don't consider that because the school is notoriously bad. I think we look at the area you want to be in, the property, and then just doing the final checks on the school just before we sign the lease is probably the way to go.
Okay. And how difficult is it to secure a rental if you're moving with a pet? That's always a good question because I know that's always a big concern for people that are moving with dogs and cats.
Yeah, and I used to say very, very hard. It's really hard. But good news is that the legislation has changed in most places across Australia now, in that you can't legally refuse a pet if you don't have a particularly good reason. So that is so good because so many people move with pets and they are like a member of the family. So with that in mind, moving with pets, don't let it worry you. It's okay. We put together a pet resume. So we'll put a picture of your pet, why a landlord should put a pet in their property. And I think the good thing is when someone's moving from abroad and they've got that expense of moving a pet over, and it can be very costly, it already shows an element of what a good pet owner you are. So I'd say, don't worry, we will get you approved with your pet. We have had some instances where people have said, I'm coming over with my 6 cats or my 6 dogs. And I think, oh, okay, that's going to be challenging. That's a little bit different. But if you've got 1 or 2 pets, I'm very confident that we will get you approved on a great property with your pets.
Oh, that's great. And I don't know what it's like in Melbourne, but in Brisbane, we've got a cap on the number of pets you can have. You can make applications into the council to have more than the allocated amount, depending on the size of the property. But that's just something to consider if you are bringing 6 cats with you.
That's it. And different councils have different regulations. So that's even a little bit hard to sort of navigate because someone could be moving, say, to Melbourne where I live, and then they'll go, I've got X amount of pets. And I go, great, that's okay in this council, but not this council. Or, yeah, so it's just being aware of that as well.
So you've had an exciting growth. What's next for Rental Search Australia?
I don't want to grow anymore, I don't think. I think we are good. I think that we are in every city that I wanted to be in. For me now, it's not about growth. It's really about just maintaining really good quality, just making sure that our relocation managers are up to date with all the legislation and things like that. Everyone's trained so exceptionally well. So many of our relocation managers come from a background in property management or leasing, so they know how to put together really great applications and things. Others have made the move from overseas themselves. I love working with relocation managers that have got that, because I always say that what we do is not a hard job. It's really not, but it just takes a certain warmth of someone and like a kind person, that really cares about someone's move, and being that friendly face on the end of the phone or on the end of the emails. So it is just, for us moving forward, it's just going to be quality control and just ensuring we just keep that really high quality going. That's all that's important to me now.
That's great. Now, this is always the hardest question to ask, but what's your top tip for someone who's planning their move to Australia right now? I know it's hard to condense down into one tip.
I'm going to say just try and enjoy the process. And that seems very wishy-washy, but it will all work out. It seems like there are so many sleepless nights, and what if this happens and what if this happens? But a lot of the things that you're worried about happening probably won't. And if they do, we work it out. As long as everyone's got their health, this is worth it. It's totally worth it. It will be a dream come true. You'll reap the rewards. Just try and enjoy the process. It'll be all done and dusted in no time.
I love that. And I think the process can take a long time. It can take a lot of months or years or whatever. And if you're not enjoying it, there's no point waiting till you get there to enjoy it. You've got to enjoy it along the way. So I'm a big believer in that as well. I love that. So where can people go to find out more about you? I'll pop a link as well in the show notes to the quiz that you mentioned. What's your website address?
Yeah, so we're at www.rentalsearchaustralia.com, and then we're on social media as well. So you just pop in, I think it's just Rental Search Australia, and we should come up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We got through a lot of questions there. It was a really good fun chatting to you.
Oh, thanks so much, Karen. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much again, Jade, for coming on. That was a really valuable conversation, and we covered so much ground in the episode. I'm sure you'll have found it really useful. Don't forget, if you want to find out more about Rental Search Australia, you can find their link in the Move to Australia directory and find their links in the show notes here, or visit them at rentalsearchaustralia.com. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what you think. I would love to hear any insights that you gained from listening. And it would be also great if you would leave any positive reviews in your favourite podcast app as well. So that's it from me this week. In the meantime, let's get building your new life in Australia, one episode at a time.